Welcome to Acts Christian Church, where you're the head and not the tail.
The year of unusual favor.
I'm Bishop Mark Nicholson, and thank you for joining us on our Community Awareness and Engagement program. I think it's so important that we have programs like this that comes into your home to give us an insight of what's happening in our community. Could I ask you, please, would you like and subscribe so you can get more of these programs coming directly into your home? I believe today's topic of community engagement will be one that you're going to have to sit up and listen to. Suppose I said to you, on the 5th of July, 1948, 75 years ago, the NHS was formed. Every one of us in this country have used the NHS at some point in our lives. And you know what? They do a great job. Me personally, wouldn't have to complain about anything because I believe they do their best in delivering a service. I've got somebody in the studio here that's going to talk to us a little bit more about the service that they do deliver, and that's no other than the vaccination lead for Croydon and Sutton and COVID, which is Bernard Christopher. Thanks for shaking your hand, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming in. We're grateful for all the work that happens. And I wonder if you could just tell me what's your role?
Sure. So I'm a vaccination lead for the COVID for Southwest London, but specifically for Croydon and Sutton.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And tell me, what do you really enjoy mostly about your job?
Wow, great question. I've been doing this for the last 2.5 years almost. And it's mainly making sure that, the population of Croydon and Sutton are looked after when they come and get their vaccinations, and now also in the roving team, which we now do, which is basically doing pop-ups, also going to people's homes to get them vaccinated, making sure that people are protecting themselves, but also protecting their families.
Well, we're here today really to talk about staying healthy and making sure that we can get the best advice and the best guidance to the NHS. And so I want to put to you some questions. Look, in our news, we're hearing the extreme pressure that the NHS is going through.
Absolutely.
Some people might think it's so much under pressure that, I'm not going to call them. But could you tell us about accessing the health service?
Absolutely.
What should somebody do if they wanted to get access to the pharmacy or their GP or their practical A&E?
So most important thing is do go if you are in crisis or you have a minor cut. Do make sure you seek help. Don't seek help. That's the most important one. So go to your local pharmacy. You have community pharmacies out there which can help you with very minor ailments. If they're slightly more, then you can contact either your GP or you call 111. 111 is there to help you. They advise you to either go to your GP or they advise you to go to A&E. Of course, for any real emergencies, is it somebody having a heart attack, or then you do go to A&E.
So it's good to know those services are there directly. But how can the NHS, like the 111, help us? How can it help?
They will go through the symptoms and they will then direct you to the right service. So they will direct you either to a local GP, or if it's out of hours, they'll send you to a GP out of hours.
So these people are trained. If we ring 111,
absolutely,
the people that on the other line obviously are trained, that they'll give us the best guidance we need.
Most definitely.
That's encouraging to hear, because sometimes we'll panic, we don't know what to say, what to do. It's good. Is there also a kind of online service?
There is an online service for, if I'm correct, for 111, but they will direct you also when you call them. It will tell you to go to, you can see most things online. It's like a Q&A, and then it will advise you where to go.
Okay, well, as you know, we're facing like the winter months at this moment. What advice can you also give us that we can stay well during these winter months?
So during the winter months, of course, it's making sure you are even when you go out, that you dress well, making sure you have shoes that have grip, because it might be slippery out there, it might be wet and very, very cold. Making sure you have a scarf, making sure you have the right jackets, making sure you go out well dressed. Also, when you're in the house, making sure the house is warm enough. I know it's, people are under pressure nowadays with the cost of living. Again, trying to make sure that, that is most important, and making sure you eat well where you can. But again, that is another pressure which people are facing at the moment with the cost of living.
Exactly. I mean, when we think about mental health on the rise at this current moment, and people wondering to themselves how they're going to deal with certain things, cost of living, you're in a position of asking the question, do I eat or do I heat?
Yeah.
Heat the house or eat. So these again is an impact on the mental health. How does the NHS support people who may be borderlining or feeling that they are in a position moving towards mental health?
In Croydon, we have the health and wellbeing space, and we offer, it's for mental health, and we offer people who have worries about finance, loneliness, questions about housing or bills.
No, those are big topics.
Very big topics, very, very big topics. But those are just, even if you just want to have a talk, you can come to these spaces.
Now let's just take this finance.
Yes.
You're telling me that this wellbeing centre in Croydon will allow and accommodate us to talk about our finance?
Yes.
Heating bills and all those issues that will affect an individual.
Exactly.
This hub will allow us to be able to talk, and we'll get direction.
And you'll get direction to help you in the best way.
Well, now this is great news, because, even from a local minister, sometimes this is always an issue of where do you direct and signpost. And it's good to know. Could you just maybe just look in the camera again and just talk? Because mental health is it's prevalent. It's out there. We're seeing people suffer. So you're saying in Croydon, we've got a centre, hub that will help us.
So the wellbeing space that you have in Croydon is at the Whitgift Centre.
Whitgift Centre.
Yeah, at the first floor next to Holland and Barrett.
Excellent.
You simply just walk in, and there'll be somebody there just to speak to you. Or you can go to their website, which is www.croydonhws.co.uk, and then you can book an appointment online.
That's important. That is very important. The amount of people that are wearing these smiles, they're not real.
Yeah.
Got real issues, but can't talk about them.
Absolutely.
Don't know where to go. But now we have a saviour. We've got somewhere that they can go to, this well centre in Croydon,
in the Whitgift.
Just walk in and it's great news.
Absolutely.
Mental health, we keep hearing the word, it's good to talk. And if we can get people talking about their issues, we will also begin to sort out their issues. And it's good that, again, this is also supported by the NHS.
Absolutely. And don't forget, you're not on your own. There's always somebody there to help you.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Well, you heard it here. You heard it here, that there is help. Even if you're on borderline or there is a mental health issue in those areas, Croydon Whitgift Centre, the Wellbeing Centre, is there to offer that advice. Bernard, that's great news. Thank you so much. You can see the capacity of the NHS. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. All right. Yeah. Let's talk about something which I would call about the vaccination. As you know, COVID probably feels like it's a long, long way away. I mean, when it hit the world, it was so frightening for many. It's even to a point where it becomes very controversial as a topic.
Yes.
Now, I'd like to ask you, as a lead in this area, what would you say to someone who has not yet taken their COVID vaccine?
My advice would be come forward, come and get your vaccination. It's, again, similar to the flu, it's protecting yourself, but it's also protecting your family and your friends and people around you.
And this is why you recommend it.
Absolutely, come forward.
Yes. And you're saying there's benefits in this?
There's definitely benefits. Of course, what people tend to forget, it wasn't a very easy process to get these vaccines here. They've gone through stringent, very strict regulations by the UK government. The ones that are being used within the United Kingdom have been regulated and are safe to use.
Well, you see, that's always the thing, is that people thinking about the side effects of these things and so forth. You hear to say that, that there ain't any side effects. Come forward, they're being tested.
Yes.
we were world leaders in this area.
We are definitely world leaders. We, of course, created our own vaccine within, two now, within the United Kingdom, of course, AstraZeneca being one of them, and there's another one coming soon. But what I would say is, what people tend to forget is that having one vaccination is actually not enough, because what your body is doing is making antibodies.
Yeah.
So the first vaccination you get makes antibodies, and therefore, but it won't protect you fully. So having a second one, normally after 3 months, or used to be 6 months, it actually makes your body have more protection. So have more antibodies. Therefore, if you do encounter the virus, then your body will sort of protect itself from it.
Because I mean, that's why I was asking the whole idea, why do we need more than one vaccine? You know, this is what I'm saying. But you're saying, is it because of how people adjust to other vaccines? Why would you say we need more than just one vaccine?
Because it's the duration of how long the antibodies in your body, so they wane after a while. So your body makes antibodies, so it will peak to let's say 90%, and then suddenly it will drop back after a while. So by having another one, it actually protects you for a much longer period of time.
Well, that's good. I know people have been saying these vaccines, they may have animal products in it. Is this true? Do they have animal products in it?
No. So initially, back when they initially started, one of the vaccines, which was the Pfizer vaccine, had animal products. It was a trait from cow milk, but that's now been removed. So now all the vaccines within the United Kingdom do not have any animal products in them at all.
Excellent. Okay, that must be relief for a lot of people to hear that directly. And the question I always ask, so can we still get the vaccine? Because it's all quiet down, and we're dealing with the area of Croydon.
Yes.
Is it still accessible? Where in Croydon we could get the vaccine?
So it is still accessible, and that's also the reason my team is around. My team is a roving service, so what we tend to do is we pop up in different centres. At the moment, we're in libraries, we're in children's centres. We have been working out of Croydon Hospital for the last few months. So we are around. So if you do go online, you can go to, I think it's the Grab a Jab, where you can go online and find it. But if you just Google it, you'll find out where you can get your vaccination.
This is so important, as I said, because it hit us and hit the world, and now it's as if we've been reset. It's like not important anymore, or take on board the whole idea of vaccine. But you're saying it's still accessible, it's still around, we can get the vaccine if necessary.
Absolutely. As we said before, it's been put on the back burner a little bit because of all the other things that we're dealing with. Living crisis at the moment is, of course, taking precedence. So there's less news out there with regards to COVID, but it's still out there. People are still getting ill, and having your first or second vaccination will, first of all, protect yourself from getting very ill. It doesn't protect you from not getting it, but it protects you from not getting severely ill. And that's actually the most important thing to put out there, is that having the vaccination doesn't actually fully protect you from getting it, but it actually makes you less ill.
Okay.
And I think that's very important to put out there.
Okay, so what we're doing and using this opportunity is to bring awareness of what the NHS offers, and for us as the public to take advantage and use those as a way of making sure that we're well. Now, we've talked about the COVID, but there is also flu.
Yes.
So we're not just going to be focusing just on the COVID, we're talking about flu as well, especially in these winter months, how we can actually take the best from the service that is out there. So talk to me about this. What's the importance about the vaccination for the flu, and how can we encourage people to get the flu vaccine?
Flu is a seasonal virus that comes out every year, and it affects a lot of people, especially the elderly, the young, and the pregnant. So that's what we always. So those are the groups that tend to get invitations to get the flu vaccine, but also protects other people around you.
So it's important. So this is a message that you try to encourage every year. People take the...
Yes.
And all right, who's eligible for it? It's important. Who's eligible for the flu vaccine?
All children at school age are eligible at the moment. So that is from up until 16, if I'm correct, or 18. They're all eligible. So they all get it at school. And then also you have, now it was dropped down last year to 50 plus. So everybody 50 onwards were able to get it. Coming year, we're not sure if that's going to be the case, but it's been 65 plus before that.
And the same question, where can one get this? We
Right.
know where we can get the COVID, but where can one get the
So
flu
where
vac?
one can get this is basically going to your local pharmacy. They tend to have it. Your GP surgery will have it. And then, of course, the schools. And the schools, what tends to happen is that parents will get a letter of invitation, or at least to give their consent that their child can have it. If they give consent, then the child will have it at school. And at school it tends to be, for children, it tends to be a nasal one, so it's not actually a vaccination.
Oh, good.
They call it a vaccination, but it's actually a nasal. So it's very simple. Children come in, they get one on both sides, and that's basically the vaccination.
Okay, so you would definitely, without a doubt, recommend having the flu vaccine.
Absolutely.
What the benefits? They say, and anybody who's going to take anything on board, they're always going to want to know, what is the benefits? Can you explain to us what the benefits are? Because it might just help somebody out
So
there
the benefits will be similar to what I said about the COVID, is that you won't get flu, but you'll still get symptoms, but they won't be as harsh. So you'll still get the aches and pains, runny nose. You might have a slight temperature, but it won't be as long and as harsh as if you weren't vaccinated.
I mean, that's good. I mean, I like to ask the questions. I mean, when we're hearing that this is prevention is better than cure, I want to ask the question, why is there such a reluctance in taking this up, where it's free, you're not paying for anything, it's going to protect you.
Yes.
But why is there such a reluctance to this?
I think partly it could be at the moment quite a bit of vaccine fatigue. People, we've been talking about vaccines for the last 2.5 years. Come and get it, come and get it. Does it work, does it not work? So I think there's a bit of reluctance there. But the most important part of it, again, as I said, is making sure it protects yourself. Side effects, similar to COVID-1, you can have an achy arm, for a day or so you can have maybe slight temperature, you might feel a bit achy boned, achy muscled, but tends to disappear within 24 hours. If it doesn't disappear within 24 hours, and that's similar to the COVID vaccine, you contact 111 or you contact your GP.
Now, I've thrown a lot of questions to you, and I want to just bring it right down and kind of be very real on this one. We are, and I'll use this word, very either blessed or fortunate, depends where you are, to have the NHS with us. 75 years it's been going. As I said, me personally wouldn't have a bad word to say about it because I've used it and I've benefited. I think it's so important that what you're doing is to convey this message to everybody that we have a service out there for everyone and we want them to use it.
Absolutely.
And so we use programs like this to convey the services. Do you believe that there are a lot of people out there that are just not aware of what the NHS can offer?
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't think that the NHS, because of all the news coverage, that there's so much pressure on the NHS. People think, you know what? Do I really want to go and sit it for 3 hours in A&E? Do I really want to go, put pressure on my GP? My answer would be yes. If it's for your benefit, if it's you're in need of it, but look at the ailment you have. Is it very simple? Do you just have a finger cut? Can that be Can you do that? Can you do that yourself, or do you want to go and do you have to go and see your GP? But use 111. Use online if that helps you just to understand where to go, but don't just stay at home and don't, because it can only get worse. The most important thing is your health, and make sure that you do take the right steps.
You know what I think it's important to throw in here as well is I've always said that prevention is better than cure. And sometimes with these things, we need to get in early, don't we?
Yes.
We need to strike the iron as it's hot. Get in. Sometimes as men, we're thinking, I heard a saying the other day that, we have a phobia going to the doctors as men. We don't want to go because we don't want to hear the news that we might think we're going to hear. It's like a Pandora box. As long as it's closed and I don't see what's in it, then that's it. But it's programs like this that encourage people to say, use the service. And I know people are trained behind that to make sure that when we do use the service, we're pointed in the right direction.
Yes,
Would you
absolutely.
agree with that?
I would agree with that. Coming back to your point where, during just an example to maybe to share with your viewers is during the pandemic, I have a young son who's now 6. At the time he was 4. I had to go to A&E with him. He'd got his fingers stuck in the door. And I actually went to A&E here in Croydon, and we were in and out within 45 minutes.
45 minutes.
45 minutes. Well, normally, if you go now, you'd probably be there for about 3 hours, probably longer, because it was busy. But we walked in, there was nobody there. And the concern was, they said, oh, this is nice, this is quick. And they said, actually, our concern is nobody's coming.
Oh.
And that's exactly as you just reiterated, that's the big issue. So the longer you wait with something because you think the NHS can't deal with you because it's so busy, it actually might make your illness worse. So the most important part is try and get contact with somebody, and they can give you the right advice to where to go.
For me, educate me here. There was a very famous number that I'm sure it's still there. We used to ring 999.
Yes, and that's still there.
But now we've got so it does show that there is a slight easing off or redirection to show that there is maybe a bigger capacity to support.
Yes.
Because you're saying you don't need to ring 999. No. There are other ways in making contact.
Absolutely.
Online. What is it? 111?
111. Yeah, correct. And they will advise you exactly where to go, because if you go to A&E or you contact the ambulance, then you'll be sitting in an ambulance for hours because they can't get you. And it's getting somebody to explain to you, yes, you need help, but you need the right help. So and that's what the reason is you have 111.
Well, as I said, this has been very educating, and I'm sure for the viewers out there as well, if you're ever pondering and thinking to yourself, I mean, can I really take up any time or just go straight to private? No, it's there. The service is there. Bernard just explained it perfectly well for us. We can go online, ring 111. People are on there just to take our calls. We may have heard a lot of, I don't know if to say negative press about the NHS, but yet still, there are people that will walk away saying, thank God I was able to be seen to and be dealt with. But what we're here today is to encourage people to let them know that this service is available for everyone.
Absolutely.
Well, I've enjoyed this because, I mean, it's opened my eyes about the efficiency of the NHS, despite what we may be hearing. And as I said, I've used it for years, and it's been a real blessing to me. I want to thank you personally for taking the time to be here and for your time in serving in this great service and even educating us, even if we didn't know that all these particular services existed. Your time is valuable, and sometimes we don't get the chance just to say thank you.
Oh, thank you
for what you're doing, knowing
you.
that if I find myself in a problem and I meet somebody like yourself, you're able to guide me and to prevent what could have been something that could have totally taken my life away.
Absolutely.
So Bernard, I want to thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Taking the time being here and clarifying everything. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Well, I hope that you've really been enlightened today in this community engagement program, which is really aimed to enlighten you, make you aware of things that are happening in our community. I don't think I personally will ever give up on the NHS because, again, it's there to serve us. And everyone who's connected to it, I wish you the very best, that it will go from strength to strength. For 75 years, we're grateful to this organization. Again, thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure.
God bless.
Christian church where you're the head and not the tail.